beloved. I am so excited to finally get an opportunity to launch this YouTube channel during the holidays. So welcome, my name is Zipporah Mwangi and I am here to have conversations about lifestyle, education and kingdom living. My theme verse, because I'm a woman of faith, is Proverbs chapter 23 verse 23, and it says, "Buy truth and do not sell it. Also wisdom, knowledge and understanding." And the whole point is so that we are able to do life well. So if you're in the northern part of the hemisphere, then I'm welcoming you to grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit in, and let's have this conversation. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, then I welcome you to grab yourself a lemonade and get to enjoy the conversation that we are going to have and the many that are coming. And so happy holidays and welcome. And if these are the conversations that you're looking out for, then I do encourage you to like, to share, and definitely to subscribe. So today's conversation is all about the holidays and the many good things that we do together. But it also is looking into the fact that there are so many people that I know that this is normally a very difficult season for one reason or another. And I really just want to use an example from the Bible to simply help us look at a few things and, get an opportunity to see some of the things that maybe we can do about it. And so that then we are able to extend grace to other people that probably in this particular season, they are really just not having a great time for one reason or another. And so our text for today is going to be 1 Samuel chapter 1. I'm just going to read that text from my Bible, and then we're going to look at that story. This is what it says. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Verse 3, this man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also, the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, and whenever the priests of the Lord were there. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because the Lord had closed her womb. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. So here we are seeing this conversation going on about a gentleman called Elkanah. He has 2 wives. So he has Hannah and he has Peninnah. Peninnah had sons and daughters. Hannah had no children at that particular point. And really Peninnah was provoking Hannah many times because she just didn't have children. And we find that every year they used to go up to Shiloh to worship. And so Elkanah would not go alone. He would go with his wife, he would go with his children, and he would go with both wives. And so what we find really, and really where I'm drawing this, the relationship between this particular holiday season and our lives, is the fact that holidays are a great time for many people. But holidays can also be such a terrible time for many people. So if you're like Hannah, you're finding yourself, you have such a desire to have children, but you don't have children. So holidays will keep reminding you of the things that you don't have. Because it's during the holidays that people are meeting with their children. The children are coming. If you're an empty nester, your children are coming from different parts of the country or from different continents, and they're coming to visit you. Of course, that's a lovely thing. You want to have a great time with the rest. But then there are some of us in our communities, and again the society expects that every woman should be able to give birth. But is that the case for everyone? Not everyone has gotten an opportunity to have children. And so really the societal expectations can put so much pressure on us. And for Hannah, it was not any different. I mean, of course there was an expectation that you are two wives in that home. One has sons and daughters, and while the other really has no children. And so we find that at this particular point, I mean, it was such a sad situation, because the Bible is telling us that she wept so badly that it means she couldn't eat. And sometimes really there are certain issues in our lives that grieve us such sorrow, that really can give us especially a difficult time during the holidays. And my heart really goes out to you today, because I do understand that you might be there, maybe with many other people, and you are loved. In fact, if you look at the story of Hannah, the Bible says that Elkanah loved her so much so that she was given a double portion. But imagine that double portion meant nothing. I mean, yes, it was something, but to her it was really such a painful reminder that she just didn't have. And sometimes when we are among people during the holidays, we do feel that sense of loneliness and that general feeling of the fact that, I mean, this is your problem. You're the only one who can truly understand your pain. So let's continue. Verse 8, Then Elkanah her husband said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look at the affliction of your maidservant, and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. And it happened, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk, so Eli said to her, How long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman. For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition which you have asked of him. And she said, Let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went her way, and she ate, and her face was no longer sad. So when I look at this text, as we've continued to read, what continues to really just encourage my heart is that this lady found something that she could do about her situation. I mean, it was a sad time for her. Yeah, it was happy holidays. It was a festive season. There were sacrifices and worship being given. I mean, there was family around, and I'm sure there were many other relatives around as well. And in this particular situation, we find that she finds herself in the tabernacle and she's praying. And I mean, her sorrow, she was so greatly distressed and greatly in sorrow that she was praying simply, without uttering words. And so when Eli was looking at her, he was thinking, this woman must be drunk, and drunk in the tabernacle. That is indeed a terrible thing to do. But then we also find that she says, it's really, I am not drunk, but I'm in so much pain. I am grieving. I am, bringing my complaint before the Lord. I am making a petition before God concerning my situation. In fact, she even made a vow that, Lord, if you actually give me a male child, I'm definitely going to give him back to you. And so when we look at her life, we can say that this was a really sad time. I mean, this is something that had gone on year after year, and we really don't know how many years she had waited for a child. But we do find that she was able to really just come into terms with her soul, the issues of the soul. And what are some of these issues of the soul that we have? We have our emotions, we have our feelings, we have memories, that's where the mind is, that's where, our heart issues are. The soul is such an extremely important part of our bodies, of our lives, that we need to take care of. And so we do find that she gets an opportunity to simply go before God and grieve. And let me tell you something. If you're going through that season in your life where you honestly feel that it is the holidays, but I really don't feel like I have anything to celebrate about, I do want you to know that you have the permission to grieve that desire that you've always had in your life concerning a matter that hasn't come to pass. Because imagine, guess what? God really does care about your feelings too. He really wants to hear what it is that you have to say concerning that particular situation. And really, I also wanted us to simply read another verse that would encourage your heart this particular day. And this is Psalm chapter 68, verse 5 and 6. It says, "A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation. God sets the solitary in families. He brings out those who are bound into prosperity, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land." And I found that in other versions, like in the New Living Translation, it talks about that God places the lonely in families. In the easy to read version, it talks about that God gives homes for those who are lonely. So if you are there and you're just thinking, okay, I'm not Hannah, I'm not married yet, I'm probably single, or you're saying, well, I'm married, I have children, but maybe the story of Hannah doesn't really apply to you. But then there are many other situations. Probably you're there and you're saying, I'm a fatherless child, I'm an orphan, I have nobody who could fight for me. This particular video is also for you. Or you're there and you feel, I'm a widow, I don't have a husband anymore. We used to do certain things during the holidays and we can no longer do them because life has changed. This particular verse is also for you, that God really does care about you who is feeling lonely in this particular season. Imagine, he says that God sets the solitary in families. So are you there and you're busy feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't have a family, I have no children, I have no husband, I have nobody. But God says that he places the lonely in families. And this is something that I really challenge us even in this particular season. Sometimes it's really that we want God to answer our prayer the way we want it. In the sense that, for example, if you don't have children, your desire would be that you have children. If you're single, you desire that you get married. If you're fatherless, you would definitely wish that you really had a father in this season. Maybe there are great things that you really loved to do together. But guess what? God is able to provide a family for you that's not even closely related to you by blood, but that can meet that need of great comfort and love in this season. I really just want you to open your heart to it and to know that God can answer that prayer in various ways. And really today I want to celebrate the fact that God has really been doing this in my life. So I'm away, I'm abroad, and I'm away from family. And one of the things that I remember doing as a child was when we would go and visit my grandparents back in the rural areas. And one of the things that he used to do was that he used to slaughter a goat for us, and then definitely would have barbecue. Back at home, we call it nyama choma. And then we would, there would be chapatis, which is also called flatbread, and we would have pilau, and there was, rice and many other dishes, and it was a great time of celebration. But as the years went by, that died off, and on this particular year, they finally get to go back to, my cousins get an opportunity to go back to a rural area and just, slaughter two sheep, and they get an opportunity to just eat together, cook together, and have a great time. So I'm so far away, I'm so many miles away from home, but they get an opportunity to actually celebrate that. But guess what? In this particular season, I'm celebrating the fact that God has given me a place other people that can fill in that space in this particular season. I'll be spending time with friends, and we'll also get an opportunity to do the same. We are going to have an opportunity to cook, to have games, to exchange gifts, and to have a wonderful time together. So my encouragement is, please don't wallow in sorrow and in sadness alone. Our God is a faithful God. He's able to provide you an opportunity. Is it that you desire? Are you feeling lonely in this season? Indeed, it is my prayer that any other holiday, not just necessarily during Christmas time, it could be any other season, during the year. It could be during the Easter holidays. It could be other celebrations that we get an opportunity to celebrate with family and friends. Indeed, my prayer for you is that you would find a family, that you would, not just one, I hope that you get many families. I hope that the Lord gets to show you that you find places where you'd call home. Because home is really where the heart is. It's not necessarily a physical place. It's really characterized by the fact that there's a feeling of warmth, there's a feeling of love, there's a feeling of acceptance. And so, for me, I'm really just urging you that look around, open your eyes to the families that God has provided for you. They could be from anywhere. Just accept the love that God has given you even in this season. So I'm really grateful that you joined me today so that we can have this wonderful conversation about God giving the lonely homes and giving them families. Have a blessed Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.